Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us for episode 377 of Sree's Sunday New York Times Read Along. We are celebrating 10 years of reading and reviewing the paper together online. My name is Neil Parekh. I am the executive producer and guest host. Our host, of course, is Sree Sreenivasan. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and our Digimentors website. Please like, comment, share, retweet, do all the things you do to make sure that people find the show on social media. For everyone watching on replay, thank you for coming back. We know that the audience grows almost by 2 to 3 times as what we get on Sunday morning by the end of the week. So thank you for taking the time to come back and watch this show. We are excited again for this refreshed version of the show. As a reminder, we're going to be doing it in a crisp 60 minutes. We're focusing more on the newspaper than we have in the past. Some of the articles we'll be talking about and news items, of course, the election 2025 results from Tuesday, Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi's retirement announcement, shutdown politics around SNAP, the Supreme Court ruling, of course, and also the impact on air travel. There's several articles about AI chatbots that we'll be discussing as well, focusing on both love and psychotherapy, of all things. And then there are 2 other articles that have been brought to our attention that we'll be discussing. One is on the deportation of Venezuelan men to prisons in El Salvador. That's the major story in the Times this Sunday. Our good friend Wayne Camadoy from the New York Times gave us a heads up about it. And we also, we're going to be talking about the purge of the military that has taken place over the last several months. That is David K. Johnston, a former guest on our show, is following that article. And Walter Grayson alerted us to the work that Governor Phil Murphy is doing in New Jersey to relieve medical debt. Lots of great things to talk about, and we are glad that you're joining us. We want to welcome some of the folks that are watching. Sujana Chandrasekhar says, good morning. I'm planning to ruin several workplaces this week. The VA hospital, my offices, the OR, and even my college at an event on Wednesday. Sujana, we want to know more about that. How are you going to ruin these workplaces? Jonathan, greetings from the East Village. Thank you, Jonathan. Doug Levy is watching from California, 5:30 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you, Doug. And Diane Stefani is watching from Margate, New Jersey on a spin bike at the local JCC. With that, let's welcome our host, Sree Sreenivasan. Sree, how are you?
I'm great. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is the new version of the Read Along, just 60 minutes, and also now available as a podcast on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. So please connect with us there. You can see some of our archives, not all, and also rate us. We would really appreciate that. We also, that's how it looks like on Spotify, and you'll find it. So just look for Read Along, just type that in, and you will get our show. We want to thank everyone who's been watching the show and supporting us. We also want to thank our sponsors. So we have 2 sponsors we want to thank. One is Muckrack for all the wonderful support they've given us, as well as the Graphic History Company. And towards the end of the show, Neil will talk more about that. So thank you for watching. Please tag a friend. Please hit share so that your friends can watch live or later on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, as well as on our Digimentors.group website. Digimentors is the company that I run along with Neil and others. We do digital marketing, events and digital programs, strategic comms, training and workshops. event amplifications, AI policy strategy, etc. One of the things we've been doing are workshops around advanced AI prompt writing. So if you want any help with any of these things, please get in touch. We'd love to talk to you. And yeah, this is how I used to teach. You can see I had hair in 1998, 25 years later. The hair is gone and AI has eaten the world. So thank you for watching. Thank you for resharing the talk on or the show on any of your platforms. We would really appreciate it. There's so much to talk about, Neil, in the news. It's been a very newsy week, especially around the US elections, but there are other big stories in the world as well. So what I'm going to do is turn on my camera so that we can take a look at the Sunday New York Times and see what's going on. The lead on this Sunday is US is accused of bully tactics on climate rule. Threats to kill measure. Nations were poised to ratify pollution fee on cargo ships. This is one of the many ways in which America is putting a wrench into many of the good things happening around the world, or at least attempts to do good things. News analysis. In New York, even yuppies are rebelling, turning to Mamdani amid city's grind. And there'll be a lot of talk around what Mamdani's victory, Zohran Mamdani's victory means, where he's coming from, where he's going, what he's going to do. All of that is part of the story, of course. I do want to say, and Neil will put this up, I just sent out our newsletter, which is called Sree Sunday Note, and in it is all about the elections and what the Democrats have to do to continue this momentum. It was a huge rebuke of Donald Trump and his agenda on Tuesday night. But where do they go from here? 2026 is very far away, and 2028 is even further away. And what I tell anyone who is wondering about, if they're overconfident about 2026 is, at this point last year, Zohran Mamdani had 1% name recognition, and now he's the mayor of New York. So anything can happen between now and next year. A big international incident, so many things could happen. So Democrats should not just rest on their laurels. So this is called Can Democrats Keep It Up? If you're on Substack, or if you can go to Substack and just look for just search up Sree Sunday Note. Otherwise, it's sreenet.substack.com. Sreenet.substack.com. Thank you so much for your support. It might already be in your mailbox. And then here is that dramatic story about Salvadoran prisons, a story that everyone should read. Beaten, trampled, and tear gassed after deportation to a Salvadoran prison. Here's Jason Silva, 24, was among 252 Venezuelan men sent by the Trump administration to the terrorism confinement center. And here shows what happens in some of these cells. Of course, we have to note that the way in which El Salvadorians are treated, Nicaraguans are treated, all of this is already a problem. But what we're seeing here is what people who are in the United States just kind of renditioned out to El Salvador. So please take a look at that. Let's see what else is on the front page. A story about the Sierra Club. You may know, a legendary organization working for environmental issues. And it's mired now in discord after its push for social justice. And in 2020, after the events around the killing of George Floyd and the racial unrest around the country, the Sierra Club sort of changed its mission, or at least added to its mission, started talking more about environmental justice and other issues. And as a result, there's a lot of turmoil because, as you know, when the pendulum swings in one direction, there's immediate pushback, and that's what you're seeing here. I'll just read the first paragraph. The Sierra Club calls itself the largest and most influential grassroots environmental organization in the country, but is in the middle of an implosion. Left weakened, distracted, and divided, just as environmental protections are under assault by the Trump administration. So you can take a look at this. Here is an old picture from 1966 of Sierra Club trying to save the Grand Canyon. And saving streets from asphalt, knees of steel. Specialty bricklayers provide a quaint side of New York City preserve a quaint side of New York City, cobblestones. Knee pads are handy. And there you can see the cobblestones being put on some of the streets in New York. I think European cobble streets, Neil, are like round, but these seem a little different shape here. And that's on the front page of the Times. We want to mention a story that I don't think is in print this today, but our friend David K. Johnston, formerly of the New York Times, who writes very important books and articles about the Trump administration, holding them to account, has told us about a story around the military purge, about how military leaders of all kinds are being purged from the U.S. military. You can see the headline there. So it's online. You can find it. Hegseth is purging military leaders with little explanation. And this is a man, as you know, who was a very junior officer in the armed forces, became a Fox News host, and now is kind of lording it over the entire, top military brass. And we do have in the United States the system of a civilian in charge. And this is a very unqualified civilian, even though he's been in the service. He has not done anything substantial to run a $1 trillion organization. And here you can see many of the people that have been purged are men and women of color and just women in general. So that's one of the reasons why this story is worth looking at.
It's also, Sree, in addition to the initial purge of men and women of color, women in general, also anyone associated with generals that President Trump had an issue with, in particular General Miley from his first term. People who served in his command have been blocked from promotion and drummed out of the service. It's definitely worth reading, and we definitely appreciate David K. Johnston, former guest on the show, for bringing it to our attention. We'll share the link, a gift link to the article, both on our website and in the chat.
Thank you. Let's take a look at some of the other comments that have come in. Ken Fisher is watching from Iowa. It's sunny and cold Iowa, and we know, of course, that in about a year's time, Iowa will be overrun by people who are running for office. So we'll see that. That's a way to kind of tell if folks are in fact interested in running in 2028. George Matthews says, good morning from Shore to Hills, New Jersey. Excited to hear from Sree et al. About our new mayor-elect, Zohran Mamdani. And this is an example of a New Yorker is always a New Yorker, no matter where they live. And George now lives in very wonderful part of New Jersey, but still has that New Yorker roots. And lots of things to talk about around Zohran. And of course, we'll always take your questions and comments and read them out when we can. Thanks for that. Let's see who else is watching. And Jonathan says yuppies still exist. That was a reference to previous story. And Sujana says that Ross Douthat article in New York Times, first title, Did Women Ruin the Workplace? Now third rewrite of the title is, Did Liberal Feminism Ruin the Workplace? This is not your father's NYT, Neil Parekh, and that's a reference to Neil's dad, wonderful journalist in the ethnic press, who a former lawyer who then ran a major Indian newspaper. And when he passed away about a dozen years ago now, one of the things that Neil and family did was have him have a Sunday New York Times in the casket for the cremation. And it's an incredible story. That's one of the things that brought Neil and me together. When he saw that I was doing this read along, he just jumped in to help. And it's changed how we do our Sundays and how we spend our Sundays. So thank you, Dr. Tachi, watching from Fort Lauderdale. And Carol King, good morning from Tampa Bay.
I was just going to clarify that it was actually one of my dad's final wishes to be buried with the Sunday paper.
It was his wish. It was his wish to be
buried. And we honored that, and it certainly. I mean, I grew up seeing that little blue bag on our driveway every day, and of course, getting the paper here in Washington D.C. One of the regrets I have is that it doesn't come in a little blue bag. The Washington Post does the local printing, and they use yellow bags. So it's almost the same, but not quite.
And the bags are to weatherproof the paper when it's thrown on your front lawn. Those of us who live in apartments don't get any kind of wrapping around it, but we do get a rubber band, and I joke that that's a very useful part of your New York Times subscription, the rubber band that you use on all kinds of things throughout the week. Carol King is watching from Tampa Bay, so we have two people watching from Florida. Dan Foreman watching from North Jersey. Thank you, Dan, for being here. And Sujana says, thank the people for the blue wave tsunami this past Tuesday. All 31 Moms for Liberty candidates in contested elections lost. We, the people, have the power and need to use it. For our non-American watchers, the Moms of Liberty is a super right-wing group that fights for the Trump agenda and more. So it's kind of a MAGA for women, though, of course, there are lots of women in MAGA. And Chris Gorman's watching from New York. Happy to have you here. Ellen's watching from the Upper East Side. Ravi is watching from Bangalore. Thank you so much, Ravi, for being here. And Sujana is throwing in some Bangalore references and some Kannada to talk to Ravi. And Ravi is saying the headline is Donald versus Zoran. And this is not a fight that Zoran shies away from. As you remember, Neil, he said on the during his victory speech, he said, Donald Trump, I 4 words for you: turn the volume up and kind of pay attention. And Wayne is telling us that Purge article was on the top of Saturday's A1. So what I'm going to do is just see if I can find the print A1 from Saturday. Yes, I can.
Right there.
And there it is. The unusual purge of top officers in the military. Hegseth's moves create an air of distrust. And these are some of the people that have been purged. Wayne is a designer at the New York Times on the print edition and does digital stuff, of course, as well. Wayne, thank you for your support. And we should remind everyone, this is 10 years of the show. And Wayne and friends have been very instrumental in getting us some great guests from the New York Times over these years.
Sree, we'll also, while Wayne is on the screen with a comment, if you go back to today's front page, the article about the Venezuelan men being deported to a maximum security prison in El Salvador, there's several pages inside the paper, which we'll get to later. But Wayne, thank you so much for sending us the PDF. We have put it on our website. So if people want to download the article, we'll share the link as well. But if you want to download the PDF of this article, you can find it on our website.
So you just go to digimentors.group, look for the read along, look for this episode 377, and you will get the PDF of this. So this is a wonderful way for us to collaborate with the New York Times. We should say that we are independent of the Times. We are not sponsored by them in any way. Instead, we have a working relationship to get guests from the show onto our air. Some of the people we've had from the New York Times include very senior editors, a writer on the desk that does the wedding vows. We've had the creator of the Modern Love column on Valentine's Day, Daniel Jones, so many folks over the years, and we're very
Tom
grateful.
Jolly, of course.
Of course, Tom Jolly, the editor,
print editor.
The print editor of the New York Times. One of my life highlights, one of the things I put online is hashtag life highlights, is the fact that Neil and I went to the print editor of the New York Times, his house in New Jersey, sat around and read the paper with him, and our friend Carla Baranakis, who used to work at the Times, brought bagels. And in my mind, that's like the ultimate way to spend your Sunday morning, reading the print paper at the home of the New York Times print editor, eating New York City bagels and New Jersey bagels. So that was a wonderful memory. And that's one of the examples of what we are able to do on the show. Neil, you also, I'm very jealous, you got to go to the home of the travel editor, Amy Versa.
Yes.
I think it was just
it was 2020.
January
2020 when they did the 52 places to go. I was at Amy Vershup's house in New York City, and she reviewed the 52 Places to Go, which actually landed that Sunday. And she brought a guest to join us, Seb Modak, who was the 2019 Traveler, 52 Places Traveler. So he told us all about his adventures. And of course, 3 months later, the world shut down with COVID. I was going to say, talking about Tom Jolly, just as again, a life highlight for you, for me as well. I sent him we interacted on Twitter on Tuesday of that week. And, he shared the tweet that I had about the read along. I slid into his DMs, as the kids say, and said, "Hey, we'd love to have you on the show someday." He said, "Yes." I said, "I'm in town this Sunday. Would that work?" He said, "Yes." I mean, it was that quick. And we've had a great relationship with him and Wayne, the rest of the hub, the print hub. It's been an incredible, just a number of great guests from the Times.
And we should
Prithia is offering greetings.
Yeah, one thing we should point out is that over the years we've done read-alongs with multiple newspapers. We went to the deputy editor of the Washington Post, his home, Mark Fisher. We went to his home to read the Washington Post.
Yes.
Neil's been to the Toronto to read the Toronto Globe and Mail. Sonali Verma, we've read papers from all over the country, and even in Dubai, we read the Khaleej Times. So we're going to focus on the New York Times as we go forward, but when there are opportunities to bring in stories from other newspapers or other publications, we will look forward to doing that. And as always, if you have things you'd like us to read, please do. And please subscribe to a newspaper. It doesn't have to be the New York Times. It can be your local newspaper or website. Your support makes a big difference in fighting misinformation, disinformation, especially at this time and with everything going on in the world. Let's look at the book review. It's Straight White Male, M-A-I-L. John Updike's correspondence, collected for the first time, traces the life of literary brilliance, turbulent loves, and everyday pleasures. So that looks very interesting. They also have the best illustrated children's books of 2025. So something that you'd want to look for. The Times Magazine cover is It's Still Alive. Why do we keep remaking Frankenstein? And Guillermo del Toro has a new Frankenstein movie with starring Oscar Isaacs as Dr. Frankenstein. As you know, the misconception is that the monster is Frankenstein, but in fact, it's the doctor who's Frankenstein. And it looks of very high quality in terms of production values. But it is a good question. Why do we keep remaking Frankenstein? And let's see here. The Metropolitan section, we should tell folks, is a section that's available only in print to subscribers in the New York City area, so Neil doesn't get a copy of this. The Metropolitan cover is The Sisters of Perpetual Reading. 3 women have devotedly run the Argosy bookstore for decades. So that looks like a fun story as well. On 4th Avenue, what it was previously known as, this is where it was opened. And this should be a very interesting story. And then a career criminal whose name nobody knows. Since 1992, a man has been convicted and incarcerated many times, but who is he? The defendant's career began in 1992 under the name Elvis Teller, but we don't know who he is. The Sunday Business cover, When MAGA Met Private Equity. A newly elected Republican senator promised hope for a dying Ohio paper mill and its unionized workers. Then reality set in. Speaking of Ohio and paper, there is a new series on Paramount, on Peacock, called The Paper, and it is a successor to The Office. I know many of you are big fans of The Office. I don't know if you've seen The Paper yet, and it's set in a dying newspaper in Ohio, but one character did make it from The Office into the show The Paper, and that's the character of Oscar, the accountant. So if you have seen it, I'd love to hear your reviews of it. Please drop us a note, and if you are going to watch it, also let us know. And if you want to throw in some lines from The Office, this is a good moment to do that. One more plug as we talk about TV shows. There's a new show by Vince Gilligan the creator of the Breaking Bad universe, and as well as Better Call Saul, one of my favorite shows of all time. I don't know if Neil is a fan. And there's a new show starring Ray Seahorn from the show, that from Better Call Saul, and it's called Pluribus. And I've not seen it yet, but the reviews are incredible. It's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It is on Apple TV, and I find it very frustrating, Neil, that all these different things that you have to sign up for. When we were here in the 90s and 2000s, you paid a cable bill, which was way too high for lots of channels you didn't watch, but at least you knew everything was there. Now you spend so much time trying to find things and subscribe on and off. It's very irritating. How do you deal with this at your home?
So now we pay for lots of channels we don't watch. There are all sorts of shows. Pam and I, we have multiple things we subscribe to. And more often than not, we're scanning through. What do we want to watch? Okay, let's check this other service. Let's check this other service. We have a couple of things that we've started watching, which is good. We're recent subscribers to Apple TV. They dropped the Plus recently, which is just interesting in terms of branding, right? Paramount Plus, Apple used to be Apple TV Plus. But I will say, if we're offering true confessions, I was not not that I wasn't a fan. I just never watched The Office and never got into Breaking Bad and that universe. So maybe those are shows that we can get into.
Two of my favorite shows, or three, including the spin-off, the prequel, Better Call Saul. One of the things I was surprised by are my kids, when they were teenagers, they're 22 now, loved The Office. And it was something that we bonded around because they had never seen a show like that. And it was very compelling for us to spend time together around this. The Sunday Styles cover. Oh, by the way, let's just say hello to a few people. Pradnya is watching from Silver Spring. Always good to have you. Jonathan says that he doesn't even get a rubber band from his New York Times subscription like I do. He demands equal rights. Deborah is tagging a friend on Facebook. This is a great way to help your friends and to help the show. Just tag your friends. They can watch live or later on any of these channels, our Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, or Instagram. And we also want to give a shout out to our friends at Scroll.in, one of India's most important, influential, independent websites. They host us live on their channel as well as on the archives on YouTube. So we're very grateful to the team at Scroll.in. If you're interested in Indian news, you should be checking them out. Here is someone watching from on LinkedIn. Neil will find out who that is eventually. I love this New York Times read along. Thank you. We do this Sunday mornings, 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. Just 1 hour focusing on the paper. We will have guests on occasion, but mostly the focus will be on the paper. Ellen says, I also grew up with the New York Times outside my parents' apartment door. Now I still get it outside mine. No waterproof bag needed.
So on LinkedIn, Sree, Viviana E is the one that's watching that we couldn't see. Saying good morning from Midtown East. And we have several other people, Debbie Ray Chowdhury as well. Good. So the other ones are coming in.
Here, Dan says, of course, Sree interviewed Mamdani 5 years ago. Sree is always ahead of the curve. Check it out in the newsletter. Thank you. Yes, during COVID, starting with the first day of lockdown, we did 300 live shows around COVID where people got to send in messages and thoughts. And one of the episodes we did in May 2020 was a topic of how do you run for elections under COVID. And Zoran was then running for the state assembly. It was 6 years ago, so he was even younger than he is now, 28 years old. And I think he was even 20, may have been 25 at that time. And a lot of the things he has now grown into, and a lot of the positions may have been adjusted and how he speaks and everything else, but you can see the charismatic young man in there. And you could see that he also got caught up in a lot of the fervor around the Black Lives Matter movement and others. So that passion you can see there that he brings to almost everything he does. Thank you, Dan, for watching and highlighting it. And Kiran is watching on X, and she says, DC in the house. Thank you very much. And Jyoti
She
is
also,
watching.
she also reposted it on X as well. So thank you, Kiran, for that.
That's great. Jyoti is watching. Good morning. Love the read along. Thank you. Sundays, 8:30 a.m. And you can find us now. This is brand new on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just look for the read along or NYT read along. And there you'll find archives, about 20 episodes or so, 15, 20 episodes. And then going forward, we'll have everything there. Neil, you put this up. Today's show will be up in a couple of hours.
Shortly, yeah, shortly after the show, it'll go up fairly quickly. It'll only depend certain Sundays. If I have plans right after the show, it may be a little delayed, but it'll go up fairly quick. After you finish this round, Sree, there are several comments on Twitter I'd like to bring in as well.
Sure. Naomi says, greetings and salutations from Rhode Island. Thank you. Wayne says, incredible reporting on this. This is the story of the men who've gone into prison in El Salvador. Incredible reporting. The men are brave to tell their stories of the imprisonment and torture on the record and to be photographed. Very dangerous thing to do, but they have done it. And again, if you would like to get an exclusive PDF of the mini report on this story, if you go to the read along page on digimentors.group, you will be able to find this episode, and there you can download the PDF for free. And I think teachers will find it very useful, and professors, as a moment of where we're living right now and how we're living right now. And you may want to discuss it with your students. Parents may want to show it to their kids. And of course, you should share it with your friends. You can download it, send it to your friends, tell your friends to go to the read along page on digimentors.group. And let's see a couple more, and then we'll go to Twitter. John's watching on YouTube. Thank you, John, for your support, and everyone should check out his podcast, the Irish Stew podcast. We have someone else watching on LinkedIn, and we see Diane is tagging somebody. That's really great to see that. Yeah.
That's Raja Gopalan watching.
Oh,
from
thank you,
New York
Raja,
City.
for watching. What happens with this StreamYard tool that we use is on occasion the LinkedIn name doesn't come through, but no fault of the person doing it. And Dr. Tachi says, cable was a complete ripoff. It makes me more prudent with the choices to do the streaming options that she makes for viewing, especially since I refuse to pay for extra services. That's a strong push for streaming there. And Deborah says, we watch PBS, especially on Sundays, Masterpiece Theater, etc. Naomi says the studio was everything. And Deborah also says, shout out to all our brave veterans. That's great. All right, Neil, let's go to a round in Twitter, please.
Just a few quick posts. John Lee, you mentioned the Irish Stew podcast. So I wanted to thank them for sharing it on Twitter. Irish Stew is in the house as well. Our friend Juntai replied to the post. It's fascinating how varied the topics can fundamentally shape our worldviews. Let's dive deep, shall we? And John Lee also shared it from his personal account, which we appreciate. And then, of course, you see Scroll and Kieran reposting it. Anita B. Green, Anita Joe, on Women as CEOs Workplace. My favorite read is Everything, Tom Peters' Extreme Humanism. So just a few folks who also shared and commented on Twitter.
Great. Let's get back to the paper. One of the things why we made these changes for our audience, we used to spend so much time with our guests that we didn't get enough of the paper. So we are trying to do more of the paper. Okay, if you have to ask, you'll never know Gen Z. Young people are embracing absurdity in an attempt to elude the prying eyes of adults. I think lots of kids have done this in many generations, but nothing like Gen Z. And you are the parent of a Gen Zer, or Gen Alpha. You're Gen Alpha, so Alpha and Z kind of blend together.
Yeah, she argues about that, whether she's Alpha or Gen Z, right in the middle, right on the edge. I think she says she's a few months from the line.
And we know one of the things that went around the world is 6-7. and lots of publications have tried to explain what that is. And it says here, if you have to ask, you'll never know. So sometimes better not to ask. And here is a striking image. The suit makes the mayor-elect. Zoran Mamdani's message to New Yorkers is reflected in his millennial sense of style, where he's wearing always a dark suit with a white shirt and tie. I don't know how millennial that is. I don't know many millennials who dress like this every day. But of course, most of them not running for office. So I don't know if this is I want to read the story and find out how much of a reflection this is of millennial style. A suit style Zoran Mamdani prefers, slender, soft at the shoulders, and dark in hue. I wonder how many suits he has, because he's out there sweating in the summer. How many suits does he have in his rotation, Neil?
Before you go leave the Mamdani article about his suit, let's just note that there is in the style section on the front page that there is a article about Mamdani.
Okay.
There's an article about a male politician and his choice of clothes, and you're talking about the particulars. Usually, that's the kind of coverage you would see about women politicians, and what they wore, what they didn't wear, and what it means, etc. I don't remember this kind of detailed article about Joe Biden, for example, or others. Now, Barack Obama did make some news with his tan suit, but that was a contrived issue by the Republicans. It's kind of nice to see this.
My 13-year-old gets pissed when I suggest that she's Gen Alpha. Is she claiming Gen
Yes.
Z? Is that what happens? Do they think Gen Z is cooler?
I think so.
Yeah. A prediction from Pradnya: Zoran and spouse on the cover of Vogue. I think they could also be on the cover of Vanity Fair. So I think that's a good prediction. I will not take a bet on that. Sujana says, remember Obama famously had several copies of the exact same suit, shirt, tie. So he didn't waste time picking out clothes in the morning. I did not know that. That's an interesting tidbit. You may remember that Steve Jobs famously only had a wardrobe of those black turtlenecks and jeans, so he didn't have to waste time selecting clothes. That's, I know, for parents who have children who have been in schools without uniforms and then in a school with a uniform, what a difference it makes. It reduces the tension around clothing styles and hipness and trendiness. And it just, in the morning, it's just so easy if you have a uniform. There are other issues with that. I will say there are two elements of the two other presidents that we should talk about. Joe Biden's aviator glasses were discussed widely, and Donald Trump's terrible, long red tie, which he wears most of the time. Oh my God, there are so many people who can go to Halloween parties by just wearing a super long red tie and just saying they're going as Trump.
I will say, Sree, on the issue of the Obamas wearing the same suit and tie. When you're in the public eye, though, you do have to be mindful of what you're wearing and when you wear it again, and whether or not you're in the public eye, or even, I'll say for me personally, if I have a weekly meeting or back-to-back meetings with a client, I don't want to wear the same shirt the next day. This is me. I always take a look at what did I wear last week on the read-along, because I don't want to wear the same shirt again the next week. If someone happens to be watching, more than one episode or clicking in, I want them to know I have more than one shirt. I just want people to know that.
This is why you should watch the read-along. Come for the news, stay for Neil's choice of shirts. But I should tell you, this morning I was looking for a particular shirt and I couldn't find it. So I grabbed the closest, cleanest shirt that I could find, but the one I really wanted, I couldn't. Let's see. Jonathan says, yes, the Times did an article of Biden and Trump in terms of dress. Biden came ahead, and it is common choice among leaders to have a de facto uniform. And Deborah loved the tan suit debacle. A reminder to folks, Neil mentioned this, during Obama's second term, one day he wore a tan suit to the office and was considered by Fox News and others a great travesty because you always wear dark suits in the White House. However, people went back and found Ronald Reagan wearing a tan suit in the White House. And of course, because it was a different era, because there wasn't the kind of media ecosystem and social media ecosystem that exists now that didn't exist in Reagan's time, that was not considered a crisis, but this was considered a crisis. Mary loves your sartorial precision, Neil. And Pradnya says, I hope everyone will check out Michelle Obama's new book. I didn't know she had one. It's so robust and talks about her style. That's a sign that someone's running for office when they write a book in the off cycle, but I know she's not running. Gavin Newsom, however, does have a book coming out next year. So we'll be seeing that, I'm sure. All right, let's keep going. Sunday opinion is, what did the election tell us? The politics of precarity will unite the left. Competent, relatable centrism can win. MAGA is beginning to crack. And Trumpism remains the Republican future. And alongside all of this, Neil, we saw one of the stories is the fissures in MAGA around J.D. Vance and his wife. He did not, when he had the chance to praise his wife's religion, he chose to kind of denigrate her and say, I hope she converts to Christianity. And so a lot of people have been pointing that out. And then Nick Fuentes, who is a terrible right-winger, extremist guy, the politics around him after Tucker Carlson hosted him has caused a lot of consternation in the world of MAGA. So that's one of the cracks that you are seeing. Real estate cover. In this house, here a kitchen, there a kitchen. In his Minnesota home, the celebrity chef Andrew Zimmern can go from wok to hearth to grill, 9 of them. I think this means he has 9 kitchens, but I will say one of the things you will find in some older New York homes is that people kept a kosher kitchen, and in some places, if you had, because of the way they kept their kitchen, sometimes there was a secondary kitchen, especially if you had roommates and things like that. But this is taking it to the max here. And let's see, the Arts and Leisure cover is about holiday movies. Global fame, big ambition. In the second Wicked, Ariana Grande shows just how much further she can go as an actress. Have you seen Wicked, the first episode, part 1?
We did.
Okay.
We did, and we'll definitely see the second one.
All right. And looking at the chemistry, complexity, and last-minute casting of a new Knives Out movie. I've seen several of those, or I think a couple of those, but there are several of them. One movie that was in its spirit was the TV series The Residence, about a murder in the White House this summer. I know
that was good. The Residence. Yeah.
A select list of this season's most anticipated new releases is on here. And one thing we missed was the New York Times Magazine. I guess we did see it. I'd forgotten.
The cover.
Yeah, we talked about that already. So
if you look inside, Sree, in the magazine, if you look inside, there's a very interesting article about AI chatbots, about how people found love through chatbots. It's a major story online.
Relationships with a human results,
yes,
or relationship with the chatbot?
No, relationships with an AI chatbot.
Okay,
it's a whole new world.
Yeah. So one of the things you hear about these stories about chatbots, and a lot of them can be funny, unusual, but there are also multiple lawsuits around brought by families about their loved one having been prompted, so to speak, onto suicide and self-harm, which is a real part of the story. So I want every parent who has kids who have access to ChatGPT or any of those programs to be aware of this and to talk to their kids about this. The reason that they've been so, in a terrible way, successful in doing this, it's not that many cases, but even one is too many, is that one of the things that OpenAI and ChatGPT, all these other tools are doing is trying to please the person who's typing. So they then get into being nice to them, being extra nice, and then you don't have that in your real life, so you think there's a real person, and then that goes into a spiral that can be a problem. So please be aware. We talk about the evils of social media all the time, but we want everyone to be aware of this aspect of it as well.
Sree,
Story on electric
in that vein, there was an article earlier in the week about AI chatbots. So we talked about the one about love. There was also an article about AI chatbots and psychotherapy. Are AI therapy bots safe to use? And I think that's also a very interesting story to look at. Psychologists and technologists see them as the future of therapy. The Food and Drug Administration is exploring whether to regulate them as medical devices. I know that at one point I remember reading about how one company was uploading recorded transcripts of therapy sessions to train a chatbot on how to respond to different issues. That might be a topic we take up on the show that I do on mental health, Shining Light on Shadows. We haven't gotten into AI chatbots yet, but that's certainly on our radar. While we're talking about that, I do want to give a quick plug for this Thursday's show, Shining Light on Shadows, a candid conversation about mental health. We're going to be focusing on perimenopause and mental health. And instead of having one guest, we're going to have 3 guests join us. Dr. Ellen Albertson from the National Menopause Foundation. Thank you, Pradnya Haldapur, for helping to make that happen. Lisa Falcone, a nurse practitioner with the Life Cycle Wellness and Birth Center. And Aisha Sultan, who is a columnist with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, who's written about her own experience around perimenopause and mental health. In December, we're going to do one show in November and one in December because of the holidays. We're going to actually focus on menopause and mental health. And our colleague Jenny Lazarus from Digimentors is going to be a guest talking about her own experiences. Lisa is going to join us again. And then Candace Sanchez, the host of Unspoken Conversations with Candace, will join us. So please join us this Thursday for perimenopause and mental health. I am very proud that we'll be talking about these issues. And I know that there are a number of people who are looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you, Neil, for all you do around the topics of mental health, and these particular shows back to back about women around menopause, I think, is very, very important. Let's see who else is watching. Paula is watching from Tallahassee. Linda is watching from Lancaster. And Diana says, my kids have a healthy distrust of AI. My husband is an AI, so we show them the bad sides up close. And Diana's watching in California, where it's 6:15 in the morning. So hi, Diana, and thank you for watching. And Carol says, how about AI chats and the concern of increasing technologies of surveillance? An important topic to keep an eye on. Neil, time flies when you're having fun. We only have about 15 minutes left. That's how fast this is going. So let's just take a look at what else is in the magazine. Jennifer Lawrence regrets everything she's ever said or done. Wow, that's provocative. An interview with her. And a couple of other things. How should I deal with my horrendous sister-in-law? Well, I just want to say that my sister-in-law is great. I have 2 sisters-in-law, and they're wonderful people. So thank you for being in my life. But somebody is having an etiquette issue or ethics question with Kwame Anthony Appiah. So something you'll want to check out. In our time, this is a letter of recommendation. People who have dedicated their lives to studying one very specific thing share what is meaningful about that thing with others. There are a lot of podcasts, I guess, around that, newsletters around that. And one last thing here, mind your peas. Mushy peas, a British classic, are perhaps the ultimate easy side dish. So I've never made this. Neil, I don't know if you have. And even sparser seasoning lets you taste the legume as it is. I'm going to just quickly look through, see if I can find that chatbot story. Monster Hunters. This is about why there is another Frankenstein movie. This time you can find it on Netflix. I'll Come Home to You. A 14-year-old boy killed himself after falling in love with an AI chatbot. Can its maker be held responsible? So this is exactly that story. I Will Come Home to You was one of the things said there. So please read this, talk to your kids about it, age appropriately, of course. But this is one of the things that you have to think about. and when you're dealing with these technologies. Book review. Let's just see what's in the book review apart from this John Updike correspondence that we mentioned earlier. Susan Strait, living among traveling nurses in Southern California during the pandemic, led to Sacrament, her 10th novel. Our memories will be indelible, like my father's stories of the Dust Bowl. That's so fascinating to me because I believe, just as she's saying, the way we talk about World War II, we talk about 9/11, where were you, what happened? Kids and our grandkids will be asking their family about what happened during COVID, in a way that, we lost track of the effects of the 1920 influenza pandemic. But because of the way technology and media is now, I don't think future generations can get away from this. And of course, we hope that this is the only pandemic we have to worry about, because we do have to worry about this happening at almost any time. And the way the Trump administration has taken America out of the World Health Organization cannot help us get ready for the pandemic, and that's a big issue. It's also the 10th anniversary of the Paris Accord, the Paris Agreement, which made a big difference in trying to prevent global warming and climate change from hitting a specific threshold, which we're about to cross anyway. And Trump took us out of the Paris Agreement the first time he was in office. I think Biden put us back, and now we're out again. None of this can be good. Let's take a look at what's in the opinion section. Pelosi leads by retiring. And this is big news that someone of her age who's been there for 40 years in Congress is finally leaving. I'm in favor of term limits. I don't know why there are term limits for the presidency, but not for these other branches of government. I think they should be there as well. This election shows nothing is forever in politics. And that's what we're seeing. 3 opinion writers on Democratic elation and GOP alarm. This is similar to what I tackle in my newsletter this week, sreenet.substack.com, sreenet.substack.com. Hope you will take a look. Mamdani's win offers a lesson for Democrats. What looks like populism can appeal to a wide swath of people. So you can take a look at that story. And the core of the Republican Party is not Reaganism. Trumpism will be with us for a very long time. So those of you who think things will change with Trump leaving the scene, no matter how he leaves, it's a warning that J.D. Vance and others wait in the wings. Just how bad was Trump's very bad night by Ezra Klein? Democrats are honing their anti-MAGA strategy, and it seems to be succeeding. Again, it was one election on an off cycle, but there are a lot of dirty tricks yet to come, especially with redistricting. It happened in Texas, so it happened in California. Will it happen in other places? Your state, Virginia, came through, Neil, with
Big time.
the House of Delegates now cannot do the redistricting if they wanted to, at least the Trump-style redistricting.
Yeah, no, it was close in terms of the margin, and the Democrats now have 60 seats in the House. So it was a great win here in Virginia.
Yeah, complete. I think every county shifted blue.
Yeah.
At least somewhat. How to be a good citizen when your country does bad things. This is M. Gessen's piece. 4 perspectives on how to act morally when your government doesn't. We can think of multiple governments that aren't acting morally, but what you can do about it. So ordinary citizens, I presume, of 4 countries are talking about that. And the French secret to eating healthy. I'm curious, is this different from the Mediterranean diet? And, there was that, I think in the 90s or early 2000s, there were these stories, there were articles like French women don't get fat, titles like that. And
Sree, I want to just go back to the AI chatbot story in the magazine, because this actually it's a different take on it. This is a story of 3 people who fell in love and found something real. These are romance stories, effectively. It's not. It was that one story is about someone whose son passed away, but like Blake lives in Ohio and has been in a relationship with Serena, a ChatGPT companion, since 2022.
So they have. I was looking for it in the magazine. So
It's not in the magazine.
It's not in the magazine. The magazine, they've done the story about somebody who passed away, but here they're talking about kind of relationships that are going well, I guess.
Yeah, which is surprising. This is that was Abby, and then there's this article. Travis 50 has been in a relationship with Lily Rose on Replica. This is what I thought you were talking about, because there's a reference to the fact that his son passed away in 2023, and his wife's health hasn't been so good. So these days, I mostly attend with Lily Rose. I really miss having my wife with me at events.
Marco is watching and says, thanks, Sree, for the read along. Thank you, Marco, for all your support of what we do. We are almost out of time. I know Neil has some announcements, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, we have a few other things that we want to share with folks. First off, again, as a reminder, this show is produced by Digimentors, the consulting firm, the social digital consulting firm that Sree started with his friend Andrew Lee. So thank you for all of your support with that. We want to acknowledge the sponsorship of both Muckrack and the Graphic History Company. Thank you for joining us as a sponsor and supporting this work. And as a reminder, Volume 2 of the Graphic History of Hip Hop is coming out fairly soon. So we'll share information about that when that's available. The other thing that we added to this show is a Spotify version. So you can find the show on Spotify just after the show is over. I'll upload the file unless I have to run out the door. Otherwise, I'll upload it later in the afternoon. And as a reminder, we have 2 shows of note for Shining Light on Shadows, a candid conversation about mental health this week on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific. Episode 39 will focus on perimenopause and mental health. And then in December, episode 40 will focus on menopause and mental health. So I hope folks have a chance to join us for those 2 very important shows.
Thank you, Neil. Just a couple of quick comments before we go. Mary C. Curtis, who collaborates with us on many things, a great commentator and observer of American political life, says, in Charlotte, North Carolina, all the GOP-linked school board candidates lost. And one of the 2 GOP city council candidates lost, including in my district, may not be a wave, but folks down here are quite frustrated with overreach of state GOP who did redistrict again, and the Democratic governor who can't do a thing. Jonathan says, great show as always. Thank you. Diana says, I'm a Muckrack super fan. They do a great job. It's absolutely right. If you're in the communications business, you know or should know Muckrack. Sujana says, nice show as always. Love this community. And Rupa says, interesting how many stories there are on AI as the markets seem to be pausing on AI fever, maybe. And we also have Marco's great comment. So thank you, everybody, for being with us. This is the new, improved New York Times Read Along. We do this Sundays at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We go for an hour, and you can find us on Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. So please look us up, and you can find some of our best archived shows on there, but not all of them, because we've done this for 10 years and more than 370 episodes. We're grateful to everyone who has watched us and people who are telling their friends. Dr. Tachi says, fantastic show, thank you. And we are just grateful to this community for being with us. So thank you very much. We're looking forward to seeing you next Sunday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Neil will be in the chair because I will be traveling. I'm going to be in Dubai, India, and Singapore for a couple of weeks. And so Neil's in charge, and you'll have a great time. So do come back Sundays, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you. And again, 10 years for the show. Absolutely incredible. Thank you for all the support. We couldn't do it without you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.